So now let's understand about this means what are actually the reason in which what will be happening, in which your pathogens will be literally present in term when we are taking as well as understanding about the case of what. So when we are talking as well as understanding about the case in term of the typhoid cases. So these are present in term of the smaller intestine as well as the larger intestine. Often when we are talking as well as understanding about what are actually the pathogens, remember. So pathogens are what? So pathogens are the particular agent playing important role to cause what? To cause the hazardous as well as the dangerous impact with reference to what? With reference to the body of the organism. Remember. So these pathogens are generally causing the infection, and after that when we are arrested with reference to the case as well as the symptoms of what? Of the infection. After that what will be happening? So our body will be encountered with reference to the disease, and you are very clear about that. Means what are actually the disease? Means what? Means the discomfort. Now, so we are talking as well as understanding about the case of the smaller intestine as well as the larger intestine. Remember, so your smaller intestine is having the jejunium as well as what? As well as the ileum, playing important role as well as to carry the course of what? So playing important role to carry the course of the here meant of the absorption cases. Often when we are talking as well as understanding about the role of the smaller intestine, so this will be playing important role for what? Playing important role in order for the mixing as well as what? As well as grinding as well as kinding with reference to what? With reference to the food ingredients which are literally particularly present with reference in term of what? In term of the smaller intestine. So you are very clear about that means intestine means what? So okay, playing important role for what? Playing important role to digest the foods. But literally, when we are talking about these cases, means what? Here, means what are actually the cells either present in term of what? In term of the smaller intestine. So these are what? So these are the gallbladder cells. Then what? Then we are having the brass border cells. Of course. So when we are talking about these cases, in term of the gallbladder cells. So your gallbladder cells will be particularly playing important role to secrete what? Playing important role to secrete the mucus. So you are very clear about that. Means what are actually the mucus. Of course. Then we are having the brass border cells. So your brass border cells will particularly do what? So it will be playing an important role in order. So these are having actually the microvilli like projection structure. So when we are talking about these cases, means what are actually the microvilli? Remember? So these are the finger-like projection literally present with reference to what? With reference to the smaller intestine, playing important role in order to do what? In order to particularly digest the foods. Now, so your gallbladder cells are particularly having what? So our gallbladder cells are literally having the microvilli like projection, and you are very clear about that. Means what are actually the microvilli as well as its role. Remember as well as understood now. So when we are talking about these cases, in terms of what? In terms of the smaller intestine. So these are playing important role in order to do what? So in order to do the kinding, then the here in order for the churning as well as the mixing of the substances. Often these are playing important role in order to digest what? In order to digest the food ingredients. In the form of what? Which are actually present in terms of the here in terms of the simpler forms. So these are actually what? So these are the carbohydrate then in terms of the state of the another substances. So these particularly in terms of the smaller intestine often secrete what? So these are playing important role in order to secrete what? The enzymes. Often when we are talking about the case of the gallbladder cells. So these are often playing an important role to secrete what? To secrete the enzymes. And when we are talking about what are actually the enzymes, so remember as well as understood. So enzymes are the biocatalysts playing an important role in order to do what? In order to increase as well as decrease the reaction. As well as when we are talking about what are actually the enzymes present literally in this case. So it will be what? So it will be the protease directly proportional for what? In the case of the protein as well as the nuclease. Often you will be having the phosphatase. So as well as what? As well as we are often having the another types of the enzymes such as what? Such as so your gallbladder cells are particularly having what? So our gallbladder cells are literally having the microvilli like projection, and you are very clear about that. Means what are actually the microvilli as well as its role. Remember as well as understood now. So when we are talking about these cases, in terms of what? In terms of the smaller intestine. So these are playing important role in order to do what? So in order to do the kinding, then the here in order for the churning as well as the mixing of the substances. Often these are playing important role in order to digest what? In order to digest the food ingredients. In the form of what? Which are actually present in terms of the here in terms of the simpler forms. So these are actually what? So these are the carbohydrate then in terms of the state of the another substances. So these particularly in terms of the smaller intestine often secrete what? So these are playing important role in order to secrete what? The enzymes. Often when we are talking about the case of the gallbladder cells. So these are often playing an important role to secrete what? To secrete the enzymes. And when we are talking about what are actually the enzymes, so remember as well as understood. So enzymes are the biocatalysts playing an important role in order to do what? In order to increase as well as decrease the reaction. As well as when we are talking about what are actually the enzymes present literally in this case, so it will be what? So it will be the protease directly proportional for what? In the case of the protein, as well as the nuclease. Often you will be having the phosphatase. So as well as what? As well as you are often having the another types of the enzymes, such as what? Such as the lipase. Often what? Often in term when we are talking about the case of the protease, then what? Then the lipase. As well as we are often having the renin. So these are playing important role for what? In order for the coagulation of the milk. Often for the synthesizing of the carbohydrate. As well as you are very clear about that. Means what are actually the carbohydrate? Nothing to make you explain about that. Means what are actually the carbohydrate. Remember as well as understood. As well as when we are talking about these cases in terms of the smaller intestine. So play important role as well as the maximum absorption will be employed in this case only. After that you are having what? So after that we are having the, tell me. So you are having the larger intestine. So larger intestine role will be how much as well as what? So when we are talking about the case of the larger intestine, so these are quite a bit what? So these are quite a bit shorter in length, but with reference to what? These are quite a bit larger in terms of the diameter. Often when we are talking about these cases in terms of the larger intestine, so there will be particularly no any kind of the absorption will be taking place, but these are particularly the final end. So they are micro what? The absorption are literally taking place. So we are having the another as well as the broad kinds of the here meant of the parts in it. So these are actually what? So these are the jejunium. So jejunium are generally coming under the smaller intestine. After that, when we are talking about these cases, so here in terms of the larger intestine, so we'll be having what? So we'll be having the ileum, then the column. So when we are talking as well as understanding about the case of the larger intestine, so these are actually what? So these are shorter in length, but what? So but these are quite a bit here meant of the larger in diameter. As well as when we are talking about the case of the absorption, so here not any kind of the absorption are literally being employed as well as promoted. But when we are talking about the certain cases as well as the influence, so it will be playing important role in order to carry out the course of the absorption mechanism. So you are often very clear about that. Means what are actually the parts as well as the here in terms of the components are generally being involved in terms of the portion of the larger intestine. So these are what? As well as when we are talking about the case of the larger intestine, so these are quite a bit what? So these are quite a bit shorter in length, but what? So these are shorter in length, but larger in terms of what? But larger in terms of the diameter. Often when we are taking as well as understanding about what are actually the parts involved as well as coming under the what case? Coming under the larger intestine. So these are what? So these are the caesium. Then what? Then the colon as well as the rectum. So rectum will be what? So rectum will be the final end with reference to what? With reference to the larger intestine. But literally, when we are talking as well as understanding about these cases in terms of the larger intestine, so in this case, what will be not happening? So there will be no any kind of the absorption taking place. But when we are talking about the certain cases in terms of what? In terms of the exception. So these are often playing important role in order to promote what? In order to promote the absorption. But these are quite a bit what? So but these are quite a bit rare cases. As well as, but when we are talking as well as in the case of the smaller intestine, so we are quite a bit sure when in terms of what? When in terms of the absorption will be taking place with reference by the help as well as the parts of what? So with reference by the help of the jejunium as well as the ileum cases. So this is somewhat the condition when we are talking as well as understanding about the case of the smaller intestine as well as the larger intestine. So you could often understand as well as write this. Thus, this is somewhat the condition when we are talking as well as understanding about the case of the typhoid, in which we have understood about what? In which we have understood about the bacteria. Literally playing important role to cause the here in order to cause the disease such as the typhoid. So these are what? So these are the Salmonella typhi. Often we have understood about what are actually the symptoms of this in terms of what? In terms of the typhi. As well as we have often understood about what are actually the pharmacological treatment. Then we have often understood about what are actually the psychological treatment. Often we have understood about what are actually the painkiller used in terms to here in order to abstract as well as what? In order to subtract the impact with reference to what? With reference to the disease impact of the typhoid. Often we have understood about these cases means the presence of these in terms of the Salmonella typhi are generally being present with reference to what reasons. So these are actually what? So these are the smaller intestine as well as the larger intestine. So this is somewhat the condition. So you could often write this. So if you like the work with reference to the education as well as what? As well as the lectures as well as the videos. So you could often subscribe, then what? Then like, then what? Then share as well as comment below in the text. Thus I will be knowing that what concept actually you are hungry for or what haven't you understood or either got. So very well, thank you. With reference to what? With reference to the Tutorial. So please like, subscribe as well as share. Very well, thank you.